channel. I'm back to break down this 11-game MLB DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Before we get into the breakdown, if you do enjoy the content at any point in this video, if you could please take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, that would be greatly appreciated. The like goal is going to be 50 likes on this video. If we can get there, that would be awesome, guys. I greatly appreciate it. And don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video for my home run call of the day. Been on an absolute roll with those lately. I think I'm in 4 of my last 5, I believe. So absolutely on a roll with the home run call. Make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video for that. And lastly, if you are interested in some further content from me, you're getting really serious about MLB DFS, I do highly recommend my MLB DFS premium package. That's linked below in the description. You get access to all the same things that I use when building my own MLB DFS lineups, things like my hot hitter status data tool, splits leaderboard, team data, bullpen data, power rankings, my cheat sheet, my starting pitcher data sheet, and more. Direct access to me, the Discord chat. Check it out. And with that being said, let's go and start breaking down this slate today. As always, we're going to figure out the pitchers you want to play in the slate first, and then we'll break into bats the second half. And we like to do that by sorting my sheet by K rate. It's fantasy sports. We get points for strikeouts. And the top guy on the slate today by far is going to be Mr. Corbin Burnes, taking on the Chicago Cubs. Comes with a 35% K overall, a 15.9 swinging strike rate, 38.1% K rate against righties, and a 32.2% K rate against lefties. Also green across the board as far as slugging, hard contact, WOBA, etc. Both sides of the plate. Just really, really good stuff. And he's taking on a Chicago Cubs lineup tonight that has been striking out all season long, and now they're an even weaker lineup with trading off their whole team practically. Only issue I see that could be a thing here is weather in multiple aspects, because it is expected to be 90 degrees with 14-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to center, and Wrigley Field is the ballpark that is most affected by wind in the league. So that's going to be obviously, real problem if the Cubs are able to get some balls airborne. And then second, the rain looks like a possibility as well. So keep an eye on the weather. I still think he's going to be put in play just because of the fact that he should be missing a lot of bats with that 15.9% swinging strike rate. And the Cubs lineup's just really not the greatest. So unfortunately, the weather's a little scary, but I think he's still going to be put in play. Still top guy on the slate. You can make an argument that maybe not with the weather. We do have another guy here in Kevin Gausman taking on an easy opponent in the Arizona Diamondbacks with a 30.2% K overall, a 14.9 swinging strike rate, 31.3% K rate against righties, and a 29.1% K rate against lefties. So you can make an argument maybe to pivot to him when looking at the Vegas totals. Also, the Diamondbacks only have a 2.77 implied run total, and it's in San Francisco, which is arguably the best pitching ballpark in the league. So, yeah, I mean, I talked up Burnes, and I said maybe you could pivot, and then, of course, I mean, guys would sound real good there, but it's the truth. I mean, everything I just said really does make a lot of sense. He's a 265 favorite as well. So Gausman's going to make a lot of sense in the slate, and you can make an argument maybe he's the top option based upon all of these other factors. Alek Manoah also taking on a very K-heavy lineup as of late with the Los Angeles Angels. 28.2% K overall, a 12.9 swing strike rate with a 26% K rate against righties and a 30.1% K rate against lefties. Good ground ball, fly ball stuff against righties. Lefties, it gets a little worse, but still very respectable. And not the ground ball, fly ball rate against righties, I apologize, but the slugging, the hard contact, the WOBA. The ground ball, fly ball stuff's been a little rough, but I mean, at the same time, when you're not giving much slugging, those weak fly balls, we can live with that. And he is a 183 favorite. The Toronto Blue Jays are expected to give him plenty of run support. And as mentioned, this Angels lineup is one that definitely can offer some strikeouts. So, at the top here, we definitely have some great options we've talked about. And we've got another one of Frankie Montas taking on a Cleveland Indians team that we can definitely be targeting with a 26.3% K overall, a 13.5 swinging strike rate, a 21.7% K rate against righties, and a 4.7 walk rate. So that's always great, as well as a 31.3% K rate against lefties. So he's actually been really dominant against left-handed hitting. And we're looking at the lineup that the Cleveland Indians are expected to roll out. We can see they are pretty right-handed heavy, unfortunately, but they do only have a 4.43 implied run total. They do have plenty of strikeouts. The wind and the weather is once again going to be a factor. It looks like it's good hitting weather everywhere on the slate. We got 88 degrees, 13-mile-an-hour winds blowing out here. So that's a little bit scary. Tariq Skubal taking on the Baltimore Orioles is a guy that really gives up a lot of hard contact, but also has shown quite a bit of K upside as well. So he's really an all-or-nothing option, but taking on a Baltimore Orioles team tonight, you could make an argument for him. You could definitely make some arguments for the Baltimore Orioles bats, but something's got to give here. I think he's got plenty of K upside as far as his price tag on both websites. You can see over on DraftKings, they have a price all the way down to 6.3. So maybe taking a risk on him could pay off big on tournaments over on DraftKings specifically because he's just that cheap. Over on FanDuel, they do have him priced up to 8.6, so it's not quite the same effect here. But, still going to be a valid option. Still going to be high risk, high upside, but can definitely get the job done. We have Touki Toussaint taking on the Cincinnati Reds. He's very similar in the high risk, high upside stuff. He does have a pretty decent K rate with a 24.6% K rate against righties and a 25% K rate against lefties. Problem is he has struggled giving up a lot of hard contact to right-handed hitting. And the Cincinnati Reds are just a really good lineup. But once again, plenty of upside. A 4.75 implied run total against him. Maybe not quite as good as some of the top options we discussed. And that's the thing. We just talked about some really good top options on the slate today. So I tend to think, like, moving along here, I always like to give you guys multiple options and multiple ranges. But I tend to think this is going to be a don't overthink it slate as far as some of our top solid options. We have Adam Wainwright taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates, which is another opponent that we can definitely target. They just really don't scare us on paper. A 24.5% K rate against righties and a 21.1% K rate against lefties. That's not the best stuff in the world, but when you're taking on a team that we just really don't worry about in the Pittsburgh Pirates. In PNC Park, which is a great pitching ballpark as well, put up the diagram I like to show you guys for Pittsburgh. A lot of red and yellow going on out there as far as the outfield's concerned. So, I mean, definitely can have some interest in targeting Adam Wainwright as well. He's 9.6 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, he's 9.4. And as far as his recent form's concerned, 6.5 and 8 Ks. His last 3 starts, 2-3 and 2 earned runs. He's been right around 85 to 95 pitches. I'd expect him to have his full leash in this one. So Adam Wainwright definitely going to be a viable option. And then once we get down past him, honestly, things aren't looking too interesting. I mean, we have Marcus Stroman taking on the Washington Nationals. If you want to go to him, he has great ground ball, fly ball stuff. Both sides of the plate, he does a great job. K rate is not exactly the highest, but should be able to go deep in the game, give you a quality start. Hopefully is the hope with him. And if you want to go there, maybe wouldn't call you crazy. But other than that, really not looking at anyone. You can play Matt Harvey against the Detroit Tigers. They're a bad team. You can always play the Detroit Tigers bats as well. So similar to the Tariq Skubal play that we talked about. Matt Harvey not as quite as was a good strikeout pitcher, but has had a few decent performances lately. So if you want to take a wild shot on him, but not a top option, of course. And with that being said, let's go to transition over to bats. As always, let's go to sort my sheet by Sierra, scale interactive ERA. It's a good way of determining how good a pitcher's been so far in the year and how good he's expected to be in the future. And the worst option on the slate, the top guy to target would be Jeffrey Rodriguez. Taking on the New York Mets. Ground ball, fly ball stuff is terrible. Hard contact stuff is terrible. He gives a 400 slugging to righties, a 371 slugging to lefties. That's just not going to get the job done. That's about a 20 innings pitch sample size. And when you're looking at the New York Mets lineup up and down, they definitely are starting to get a lot healthier. And this is also going to be a game that's only featured on the DraftKings slate because it's going to be a doubleheader. So as far as targeting anyone in this game, just keep that in mind. It's only going to be in the DraftKings slate, and it's only going to be a 7 innings pitch game. But I think that the New York Mets bats could be viable for you. Jake Arrieta taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. A guy that just gives up a ton of hard contact. Second worst on the slate in hard contact. Ground ball, fly ball stuff's not good. A 574 slugging against righties. A 523 slugging against lefties. Ground ball, fly ball stuff's much more respectable against righties and lefties. So the lefties specifically, we really do like to target against him. And then when you factor in that this game is going to be playing in Chicago with the wind blowing out, the Milwaukee offense is going to be a tremendous option if this game does indeed play, especially the lefties. Christian Yelich expected to be back, Omar Narvaez, Eduardo Escobar, Rowdy Tellez, and then, of course, you can round out your stacks with the rest of the righties in Willie Adames, Abasil Garcia, Lorenzo Cain. If this game does indeed play, if the Vegas lines release, I have a feeling the Milwaukee Brewers are going to have a very high implied run total, and I have a feeling that, you're definitely going to want to prioritize them in your lineups because it's that good of a spot. Gotta like these Milwaukee Brewers today, and in these friendly confines if the game does play. Gonna be a great stack. Will Crowe taking on the St. Louis Cardinals, another guy that has been terrible. Ground ball, fly ball stuff, terrible. A 591 slugging into righties, a 405 slugging into lefties. The only thing that could possibly save him at this point is the ballpark he plays in, and that doesn't even seem to be saving him at this point when you look at his numbers. Pitches in one of the best pitching ballparks in the league, for these home games, and he still has these type of numbers. So the St. Louis Cardinals, although it might not be the easiest to be hitting the ball over the wall, still going to be great options to stack up tonight. Dylan Carlson, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Yadier Molina, Harrison Bader, Paul DeJong, Tommy Edman, Edmund Nusso, so plenty of upside throughout the lineup. I'd be comfortable stacking them up 1 through 8 with how bad Crowe's been. Not worried about the Pittsburgh Pirates bullpen either. And then we have Matt Harvey, another great option to target. Ground ball, fly ball stuff is not good. A 498 slugging given up to righties, similar to Jake Arrieta. The ground ball, fly ball stuff gets much worse against lefties. So we prefer to target the lefties if at all possible with the 420 slugging given up to those lefties in the Detroit Tigers. Definitely have a few lefties we could have interest in tonight, most notably Akil Baddoo at the top of the lineup, Robbie Grossman, Heimer Candelario, Nico Goodrum, Willie Castro, and then, of course, the righties throughout. Not scared of targeting them either. It's in Baltimore, one of the best hitting ballparks in the league as well. Pulling up the diagram here as far as Baltimore is concerned. A lot of green going on up there in Camden Yards for home runs. So we love targeting hitters here. And, of course, Jonathan Scope, bunch of power. Miguel Cabrera, if there were ever a ballpark you want to target him in, this would be the one. Eric Haas can definitely be targeting these guys for sure. Cal Cantrell taking on the Oakland Athletics is a guy that's really easy to break down as well. He's been really good against righties, not so hot against lefties. Even against lefties, he's starting to get a little bit better, but it's really going to be the lefties you're looking to target on the Oakland Athletics squad. They do have a 5.07 implied run total. You can't stack up the entire team with this 88 degrees weather with 13-mile-an-hour winds blowing out. I understand. It's going to be much less forgiving to Cantrell than it might have been before, but overall, really going to have interest in the lefties in Matt Olson, Jed Lowry, Seth Brown, Tony Kemp, and then, of course, if you want to do a full stack, I'm not going to talk the off it, but the lefties will be my favorites to target here for sure. Kyle Gibson taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Ground ball, fly ball stuff has been really good all year long, honestly, against both sides of the plate. His slugging's been really good. Only problem is his opponent in the Los Angeles Dodgers, they just have an absolutely ridiculously loaded lineup. They have a 5.37 implied run total. They're the road team in Philadelphia, which is a great hitting ballpark. It's 90 degrees with 9-mile-an-hour winds blowing out, so maybe some of Gibson's ground ball, fly ball rates won't stay true in this one because, I mean, you got to get through this loaded lineup. Trey Turner, Max Muncy, Will Smith, Corey Seager, A.J. Pollock, Chris Taylor, Cody Bellinger, Billy McKinney. Once again, Gibson, not my favorite guy to target. Honestly, he's been really good, but this might be a case where you can kind of override that and actually go to him. We have Tyler Anderson taking on the Texas Rangers. His ground ball, fly ball stuff really isn't the greatest, specifically against righties. He's a left-handed hurler. The ground ball, fly ball stuff's really bad. A 41 slinging up to those righties, so you do prefer to target him with right-handed power. If at all possible, looking at what this Texas team's expected to roll out for a lineup, it is not good, unfortunately. So, I mean, Kenner Fafella, Yanni Hernandez, Adolis Garcia, Andy Ibanez, DJ Peters, Culberson rakes off lefties, Jose Trevino, Curtis Terry. There are quite a few lefties in there. Unfortunately, it's not the most loaded talent in the world, but maybe you get them low-owned and they do go off against this guy that really struggles against right-handed power. So, maybe a viable option there. Wade Miley, another guy that's really good at ground ball, fly ball stuff. When he does struggle, it's against right-handed power. So the Atlanta Braves righties you could be looking to today. Similar to Kyle Gibson that we talked about. I'm not getting all too excited to target him from his talent aspect, but the opposing team does have some very good bats against left-handed pitching, and for that reason, you might be able to override it here because they have Ozzie Albies, Jorge Soler, Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson, Adam Duvall, Heredia, Travis d'Arnaud, all very good against left-handed pitching. So the Atlanta Braves going to be viable. Dylan Bundy taking on Toronto Blue Jays, a guy that's traditionally very reverse splitsy, very bad against right-handed hitting, and he's a right-handed hurler himself, which is going to be a big problem when you're taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. We talk about this all the time. Toronto Blue Jays just absolutely loaded lineup with very right-handed heavy bats, and Bundy hasn't been good against both sides this year. A 49 slugging up to righties, a 45 slugging up to lefties. His traditional better numbers against lefties really haven't even reigned that true here. In the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim Stadium, a lot of people are afraid to target this ballpark. I always say I actually think this ballpark's not that bad to target at all, specifically for home runs when you're looking at the yellow across the board. Especially to right field, it's also pretty friendly. I mean, right field plays pretty well for home runs. Left field's really not that bad. And the Toronto Blue Jays have guys up and down the lineup that can hit the ball about 450 feet. So we're going to have interest here. George Springer, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Marcus Semien, Bo Bichette, Teoscar Hernandez, Corey Dickerson, Lourdes Gurriel, throughout the whole lineup. Valera and Reese McGuire gets a little less interesting, of course, but you're going to get them low-owned if you want to play them in a wraparound stack at some lower ownership. Wouldn't call you crazy whatsoever. Going to have some interest in them. Merrill Kelly's another guy that gives up hard contact. The problem is San Francisco's in San Francisco, so not the best hitting environment. Honestly, Merrill Kelly's just been really bad against right-handed hitting. Very reverse splitsy guy, and the San Francisco Giants are pretty left-handed heavy, so you factor in all this stuff. I mean, you can definitely target him. The Giants do have a 4.73 implied run total. I would expect that they do get some runs on the board here, but it's a matter of how they get them as far as upside and fantasy. I don't really think they're going to be hitting a bunch of bombs here. And once we get down past this point, it gets a little bit less interesting. I mean, Tariq Skubal, we already mentioned, target him with right-handed power. The Baltimore Orioles righties definitely can be stacking them up tonight. Great hitting ballpark, great hitting environment. Skubal does strike out a lot of guys, but if he doesn't get the strikeout, the bombs will come typically. Austin Hayes, Trey Mancini, Anthony Santander, Ramon Urias, Mikel Franco, Jorge Mateo, Richie Martin, Austin Wynns can be stacking them up. And yeah, once we get past Skubal, it really gets a lot less interesting. I mean, we had mentioned Touki Toussaint and his hard contact issues against Cincinnati. especially with Cincinnati's bats. You could definitely be going to them. And David Price taking off Philadelphia in that game that I mentioned is great hitting environment. Hasn't had the best luck as far as slugging is concerned. So if you want to target him with some Philadelphia Phillies bats, I wouldn't call you crazy either. It should be a bullpen game the rest of the way, but the Phillies do have a 4.63 implied run total. Small ballpark, good hitting weather. Everything kind of matches up there. And you could be targeting the Red Sox and Rays again. I mentioned this is kind of the same prefix I had yesterday. I mean, or disclaimer, I mean, the Red Sox and Tampa Bay Rays just have such good lineups that you can maybe overwrite their opponent. But, I mean, Eovaldi's not the easiest guy to be targeting. And then Josh Fleming, it should be a bullpen game after that. Fleming overall has really not been the greatest. So, I mean, the Red Sox could make some sense. But he's actually been really good against righties, not so good against lefties. And the ground ball fly ball stuff's still been really good. So, I don't know. The Rays have a pretty good bullpen. Not getting all too excited there. And that is my overall breakdown of this slate today. Before I let you guys go, I gotta give you my home run call of the day. Let's get into it. And my home run call of the day today is going to be Austin Hayes taking on Tariq Skubal, talking about his hard contact issues. Really bad in the fly ball, ground ball stuff against righties. He can strike guys out from time to time, but when you look at Hayes' strikeout rate against lefties, really doesn't strike out a lot and really does a great job of absolutely mashing lefties overall. And when breaking down what Skubal's really relying on average, really relying on the fastball slider changeup combination. Mostly fastball slider combination. When you're looking at the fastball, he goes to that about 50% of the time on an average of 94 to 95 mile an hour fastball. And Austin Hayes crushes that pitch off left-handed pitching, a 545 ISO with a 430 WOBA. And then as far as the secondary pitch that we talked about in the slider, that's not an issue either because Austin Hayes features a 286 ISO against that pitch with a 256 WOBA. Plenty of opportunity to get the ball airborne here. Plenty of opportunity to show that power against lefties. And a guy that you should be able to get at some savings so you don't have to pay up for my home run call today. Love this spot. Get him in your lineups because he is my home run call of the day. So there you have it, guys. Austin Hayes. Get him in your lineups. And that is all from me in this one. If you did enjoy the content, you could please take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. That would be greatly appreciated. Wish you guys all the best of luck tonight. We will see you in the next one.